much for coming together for a little chat. Eleanor, Anna, and Garrett. We're going to have a chat about your experiences of faith in action. And I suppose the big message I'm trying to get across to people who are watching this is that faith calls us to something practical. There's something about it not just being this relationship between me and God, but it's also me and my neighbour. It's a practical thing. We're called to love, and that love isn't just a kind of Valentine's Day flowers to people who are nice to us. It's a kind of radical action. It's an action. It's a verb. That love calls us to do something. Anyway, so the way I thought I'd explore that is to chat with you three about your experiences of faith in action. So would you like to introduce yourselves first? Eleanor, do you want to introduce yourself first?
Okay. Hi, I'm Eleanor, and I'm 14 years old.
And Anna?
Hi, I'm Anna, and I'm 16, and I live in Chesterfield.
Garrett?
Hi, I'm Garrett, and I'm 15, and I live in Birmingham.
Very good. And I'm James, and I'm 40. So check that out. As if you didn't know. Shall we kick things off then? So Eleanor, I'm going to ask you the first question. You feeling brave? You ready? You've got all those books behind you. You've got all the knowledge in the world. Eleanor, when you think about faith in action, what kind of examples have inspired you?
Well, I've thought for a really long time about this question, and I've sort of just thought about the community and the people I've grown up around and seen all around me. Like in my old church community, there were so many people doing so many, like, they didn't seem like big monumental things, but they were things inspired by love and their faith, and they were good things that helped people. Like the SVP group and the CAFOD, the Tradecraft stall, and just things like that really inspired me, just to see people doing what they can to make the world better.
Yeah. And were those people, were they kind of different from other people, or was this just something that anybody was doing?
Anybody. I mean, I even helped out, and what I'm thinking back to is memories of my old parish, and I was really young then. I was at primary school, and even I was doing things. I was decorating Christmas cards to send to people in old homes at Christmas, and just things like that, just to make everybody's day a little bit better and to share love.
Okay, thank you. What about you, Anna? What examples have inspired you?
Well, I'd have to say probably meeting people. I've met some really interesting, really amazing people before, and even through even through the National Justice and Peace Conference, I've met lots of new people, and I've met. There was a time, was it Joanne we met? Yeah, and it was a virtual thing. She's an activist from the Philippines, she's a climate activist, and it's just hearing about that as well. It just kind of makes you go, wow, people are out there doing these amazing things. And then also probably just looking at the Gospels, you know, Jesus's life is so inspirational. And you look at the things that Jesus did and the time he was around and what he was doing and how revolutionary it was. And you just kind of can't help but be inspired by that.
Yeah, I agree. I get quite frustrated with the way that people talk about Jesus a lot of the time, because you get this idea of this kind of nice man with a beard and sandals kind of going around, but he was living under oppression. Like, he was living in a country where there were other people's soldiers walking around. The stuff he was doing was, as you said, revolutionary. But that isn't I feel like children are just taught Jesus is nice, Jesus is kind, and this word love in a very flowery way. Well, in what way do you say the word revolutionary? Tell me a bit more about that, Anna.
Just kind of flipped the way that everyone thought they should live. And he said, no, you know, it's not good to be rich. It's not good to have power. It's not good to be at the top all the time. It's not good to be first. You know, that the first shall be last. You know, that sort of idea, just completely changing how everyone viewed the world and kind of saying, no, this isn't the way to be happy. This is the way to be happy.
Yeah, really. I mean, brilliant. Thank you, Anna. And Garrett, I mean, it was an amazing answer from Anna, so I don't know what you're going to add, but let's see. What examples of faith in action have you seen that have inspired you?
Well, obviously, recently with all the Black Lives Matter stuff and all the climate protests in 2019, it shows a lot of people coming together who wouldn't usually come together as a community because they have faith that they can change one common cause.
It links very well what you're saying to what Eleanor said, because that concept of community is people doing things together. I think one of the huge ideas and one of the things that I found most inspirational is solidarity. This concept that we work together for others, we work together with others, right? And that we're stronger than when we're together. I think, yeah, it all ties in. Garrett, you brought up there the idea that like this can respond to some of the problems in the world at the moment. And in kind of big religious terms, that's called reading the signs of the times. So it's kind of looking at what are the needs, what are the problems, and responding to them. So what do you guys feel are the call of God in the world at the moment? Where do you hear that challenge, that need? I don't know. Do you want to go first again?
I'll give it a go. I think the main things that concern me in the world are I see climate change as a big thing. That concerns me a lot, and I think it is so wrong. And I really think that we should be doing everything we can to stop it. And also equality, because the gap between the rich and poor is getting so much bigger, and the gap between different people is getting so much bigger. And I think we need to stop that from happening and realise that we're all equal.
Yeah, Pope Francis has been quite vocal in responding to both of those challenges. Yeah, did you see that he met with Greta and encouraged her to continue with the climate strikes? I found that super encouraging. That because I agree with you, that to me is one of the big calls at the moment, and I hear God calling in that. Yeah, thank you, Garrett. What about you? You mentioned Black Lives Matter. Like, do you see that as something that Christian faith should be challenging?
Definitely, yeah. One of the things we've been learning in RE recently has been about the 4 marks of the church, and I think the fact that you're called the Catholic Church, which Catholic means global, means we try to incorporate everyone, no matter their gender, their race, their sexuality. So I think it's important that all these issues are tackled, especially things like Black Lives Matter, because many Black Christians are still oppressed, whether it's because they're Black or because they're Christian. It's still a problem that needs to be fixed.
And Anna, anything to add? Where do you hear the call of God at the moment?
All around. There's so much need at the minute. Again, I have to say environmentally, particularly, but on a smaller scale as well, because the big scale can be so overwhelming. I've just started sixth form, and we've got lots of new people moving to our sixth form from other schools, and it's hard because lots of them are moving without any friends, and we've got our big community that have all moved up to sixth form. And just looking around, and if I see someone on their own, and I think that person's alone, that person, they're new and they won't have anyone to talk to. Even that's a need there. And I hear God saying, go and do what you can in, as many small ways as well as many big ways. Just go up and say hello, and try and make new friends and try and put yourself out there. Even that I feel is a calling from God to go and do whatever we can whenever we can.
Yeah, and that's got to be hard because sometimes people don't want to talk to you and people don't want to respond. And yeah, I think there's something about Christians as being in a constant sense of discernment, always trying to work out, to discern, to think harder, to see the world through the eyes of the gospel and work out, well, what is it that I should be doing? And that can be overwhelming. But there's lots of kind of reassuring words in scripture and lots of encouragement. And I think coming back to the first thing Eleanor said, community. Like we're Christians with others, not on your own. And it's never our job to solve all the problems. It is our job to try and act on the problems, but it's not, thank God, our job to solve everything. we're just part of the mission of God. We're not doing it on our own. There's one more question I wanted to ask you all about. How have you responded? So that you've managed to name things that you feel God is calling you or God is calling Christians to do something. But what do you see as ways that you have responded, or perhaps that you've seen other people respond? Should we start with you, Garrett?
So I have, since kind of year 8, I've always been fairly interested in kind of stopping climate change and environmental awareness. And I think I have been to a couple of climate strikes and a climate rally. The community of those strikes and the rally shows that a lot of people may disagree on one thing, but they can all come together to fight a common cause. And that community gives me hope for the human race. If we work together, we can solve these problems. And I really like that.
There's something about being there together that is encouraging, isn't it? When you go on a climate strike and there's all those people together, it kind of, you're responding to a call, but at the same time you're being, what's the word? Almost being fed yourself. There's something that nurturing about being with other people, saying either a yes to something or a no to something together. Eleanor and Anna, you've been involved in a really interesting response up in Sheffield, and I was privileged to come along to your the conference you organised. Do you mind telling people a little bit about
that? Okay. Well, it was it 20? I think the first one was 2018, and it was kind of after we were on the train coming back from the National Justice and Peace annual general meeting, and Eleanor and I thought, this is great. We've loved it. We've met loads of really great people. The only thing was we were the only young people there, and we thought, but we're so interested in this. Yeah. And we thought we're so interested in this, and we're sure loads more young people would really love it if they had the chance, and if they could just hear from some amazing speakers and be part of something like that, to be able to feel like they're supported as well. So Eleanor and I, we went through the long process of applying for a grant and talking to our bishop and contacting speakers and people who could come in, and we got 5 speakers in for a day, and we used our church hall, and we invited, I think it was 7 different schools in our diocese to all come, and they went round in groups with each speaker for a workshop. And James, you were one of the speakers. We had someone from CAFOD as well, someone from the Apostleship of the Sea, Pax Christi as well, and it was really, really good. And we finished the day, the first one, with an action planning session, which was fantastic. Kind of everyone was sharing ideas about what they could do in school, and loads of people in the feedback forms were saying, we really love this, we're really interested in this. So it's just affirming as well to hear that there is a community of young people, and it's just the opportunity to meet up and do something. And me and Eleanor, we're going to keep going with this for as long as we can, because we just feel like when young people are given that platform and that starting, that place to start, then really they just take it and they just go and do amazing things.
Yeah, and the second one, I think you managed to get a bishop there as well. It was, the second one, your bishop was there, and I remember when you sent me the brief for the second one, you said, we want you to come and run something, but we want it to be about action. And I was really excited about that, because it feels like there's lots of raising awareness. But you were saying, no, we think what God wants us to do is actually do something. So not just talk about doing something, but do something. And I remember being very excited when I got that email, thinking, this is some young people that are actually hearing the call of God and acting upon it. Like that word vocation, to vocare, to be called, that you're actually living that out. I was excited. Eleanor, give us a time that you kind of responded to the call of God, something that you've done.
Well, I think the most prominent thing in my life right now is a group that I've formed in my school called the Green Team. And it's a group, basically, we work for the environment in school. And I'm just really proud of it because it started in year 8 with, I think, 5 people. And now there's different year groups involved. And we are talking to our local MP, and we are part of this big climate alliance, which has started in Chesterfield. And we are doing really big things, and it's really exciting me, especially this year. We've just really taken off, and it's run by young people, and it's just young people taking action against climate change.
Let me push you a little bit then, Eleanor. So, like, I could hear someone who wasn't coming from a faith background saying all the things that you've just said. How do you link together this faith and this action? How do they fit?
I'd say, for me personally, I think faith is always the reasoning. So why did I form this group? Why did I do all this? Is because of my faith, and all my beliefs about the environment and protecting it, and the beauty of the world. They all come from my faith. So that's all the motivation behind that group for me, was my faith.
Right. So it's the faith that pushes you towards the action.
Yeah.
Okay. Have any of you had an experience of the other way around? Because I know for me that sometimes it's faith drives me to action, but sometimes I'm kind of in the action and that pushes me back to the faith when I'm kind of going, despairing at how bad something is, or I don't know, that encourages me to pray. Have anyone had an experience like that?
I think I think so. I know, because I'm kind of the solid thing now in my life is the idea of action, and my faith kind of dwindles sometimes, or I find it harder. But I usually come back to when I do something, and then I question myself and I say, why did I do this? And it always seems to lead me to faith. And then sometimes when I do an action, and I just think, this is so hard. I wish there was someone there to support me. The supporters and everything that it stands for all seem to be in my faith, and it kind of draws me back there to say, you know what, you've got the support, and you've got people who you've got Christians who believe this as well. It's like you're never alone. There is that community, and action does draw you back to that, just as much as the faith kind of pushes you into action.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you shared about struggles with faith there, and I think that's really important. I think sometimes young people think that they just see these examples of people who are living out their faith and they think it's easy. But actually, I think we all wrestle with our faith. We all have doubts. We all have struggles, and it's a journey. And the relationship with God is not an easy one. But actually, you just need to keep trying, keep challenging, keep learning. And I think for any young people watching this, don't be discouraged if you're having doubts. Don't be discouraged if you're struggling with faith. And you know what? It's all right to be angry with God. And you'll find many saints and many people in the Bible, that even Jesus, that have got frustrated and angry with God. That's okay. It's normal. All right, we're going to move towards wrapping this up. Just what challenge or encouragement would each of you like to give to a young person watching this? What one little message would you like to leave them with?
I think I'll say, because when I'm going around and I'm talking to people, in my class, in my year, I always see this sort of attitude of people thinking, well, I'm just me. Even if I try to do things, even if I try to help people like this, it won't matter because it's just me doing it. But you've always got to remember that it's not just you. Like, other people do it. And if everybody had that attitude of, if it's just me, then it won't matter, then nothing would ever happen. So you just need to remember that just do things.
Yeah. And that to me links to that thing I tried to get across earlier, that the beauty of it is that we are called by God to do something, and we are called to mission. We're called to action. But thank God it is not Eleanor's action or Anna's action or Garrett's action. It is the mission of God to which we make a contribution. You don't have to solve all the problems. You do need to make your contribution. Eleanor, you said that beautifully. Thank you. Garrett, what's your message to young people watching this?
I would say remember that when you're doing something in action, you're not alone, and a lot of people, as long as you're continuing God's mission, a lot of people who also believe in your faith will be supporting you. Even if you don't see it, they will be supporting you. So yeah, as Eleanor said, just go ahead and do it, because otherwise it's not going to get done.
Super encouraging. Thank you, Garrett. And Anna, what would be your message to the young people who are watching this?
I'd probably say, kind of along the same lines, don't be overwhelmed. There's always hope. And as well, don't be afraid to pray. Don't be scared if you think you don't believe in God. Because I know I particularly struggle with praying. Sometimes I think, sometimes I just forget to, or I don't, and then sometimes I just get overwhelmed and I think, what can I do? What is there to do? And it's only at those times where I decide, I might say a prayer, and it makes me feel so much better. So I'd just say, don't be overwhelmed, and don't be afraid to pray, because it is important and it really does help.
Thank you, Eleanor, Anna, and Garrett for all your wisdom this evening. I hope that some of the things that you've said inspire these young people. I hope that they remember that it is worth just getting up and doing something, like discerning, hearing the call from God and acting upon it. I hope they remember that they're not alone when they do that, and that they can turn to God in prayer. I think there's lots of things that you said that could encourage and challenge them. So thank you all. Good night.